I want you to stay with me until the very last sentence of this video, because near the end there is one quiet realization that almost everyone I sat beside wished they had heard earlier. It changes the way you look at today, at tomorrow, and at the people in your life right now. You are exhausting yourself over things that will not matter to you in 10 years. I'm not saying this casually. I spent 38 years sitting with people in their final weeks, listening to what they actually said when time was no longer theoretical. When there was nothing left to perform for, nothing left to prove, what surprised me wasn't what they feared, it was what they no longer cared about. The things that feel so heavy to you right now, most of them will simply dissolve. The first thing that fell away was the need to be right. Nobody ever said, "I wish I had won more arguments." They said, "I wish I hadn't let small disagreements turn into long silences." Being right costs connection. Let it go. The second thing was being understood by everyone. Some people are never going to understand you. They are listening through their own wounds. Let yourself be misunderstood. Your job is to live in a way that feels honest to you. The third thing was my body's appearance. Your body is a vehicle. It is not a performance. Stop postponing joy until your body looks different. Wear the clothes, eat the food, go swimming, stop hiding. The fourth thing was keeping up. I realized the world would keep making noise whether I listened or not. You are allowed to opt out of constant urgency. Peace requires boundaries even with information. The fifth thing was old grudges. Forgiveness is not something you give to someone else. It is something you give yourself. I didn't want to be the one still bleeding from an old wound. Forgive and be free. Lastly, I stopped caring about adult children's approval and being productive. Your life is still yours, and you are worthy of love even when you are not producing anything. A good life has pauses, it has stillness. I have watched 2,000 people die, and at the end, they wanted peace. They wanted connection. Somewhere in your life right now, there is something that does not deserve your energy. Sit with that thought, because the end comes for all of us, and the greatest regret is not that life was short, but that we spent it caring about what never truly mattered. Welcome back. We've talked about how quickly time narrows, and today I want to dive deeper into the first two things I stopped caring about. Things that cost me years of peace before I finally let them go. The first was the need to be right. For most of my life, I believed that if I was right, I had a responsibility to make sure everyone else knew it. I argued passionately. I brought facts to dinner tables where nobody had asked for them. I even followed up conversations days later with new points I had thought of in the shower. I told myself I was standing up for truth. But sitting with dying people teaches you that nobody ever wishes they had won more arguments. They wished they hadn't let small disagreements turn into long silences. Being right costs energy, softness, and most importantly, connection. You win the argument, but you lose the person. Choose your battles with care. Let people be wrong. Let them hold opinions you don't share. You don't need to be the keeper of the record. The peace you gain by stepping back is enormous. The second thing was being understood by everyone. I used to explain myself endlessly. If someone judged me unfairly, I would try to clarify, to soften, to correct the image they had of me. It was exhausting. I remember Patricia, a woman I sat with in the 80s. She spent her last weeks writing letters to people who had misunderstood her decades earlier. She wanted to set the record straight before she died. I asked her if she thought those letters would change their minds. She looked at me and said, "Probably not." Then she put the pen down and never picked it back up. She spent the rest of her time with her grandchildren instead. The people who truly know you don't need explanations, and the people who don't know you will believe whatever they want anyway. Your job is to live in a way that feels honest to you. In our next part, we'll talk about the burden of body image and the trap of constant productivity. Until then, sit with the idea of letting yourself be misunderstood. It's a quiet kind of freedom. In our first two parts, we talked about arguments and understanding. Today, I want to talk about the way we see ourselves and the pressure we feel to keep up with a world that never stops moving. The third thing I stopped caring about was what my body looks like. I spent decades worrying about my weight, my skin, my hair. I avoided swimming. I avoided mirrors. I spent so much mental space on silent self-criticism. And for what? So strangers wouldn't think unkind thoughts? At 92, I see it clearly. Your body is a vehicle. It carries you through your days. It is not a performance or a project that needs to be perfected. Stop postponing joy until your body looks different. That day will never come. Wear the clothes you love now. Go swimming. Every person who ever judged your body was only dealing with their own fears of aging. If you're not careful, you'll wake up in a body that no longer does what it once could, and you'll grieve not just the loss of strength, but the years you spent hiding. Your body is a gift, not a burden. The fourth thing I stopped caring about was keeping up. I used to feel pressure to know every headline, to understand every new technology, to have an opinion on every controversy. I thought staying informed was a moral duty. But in my 80s, I realized the world would keep making noise whether I listened or not. Most of what feels urgent today will be forgotten next week. The news cycle is designed to keep you in a state of constant urgency. I stopped trying to track it all. I chose a few things that genuinely mattered, and I let the rest pass by. My life is calmer for it. You are allowed to opt out. You are allowed to say, I don't have an opinion on that. Peace requires boundaries, even with information. Don't let the noise of the world drown out the quiet truths of your own life. Choose what you give your attention to. It is your most precious resource. Next time, we'll talk about old grudges and the difficult choices we make with our own families. For now, try to be a little kinder to the body that carries you and a little quieter with the world's noise. We've come a long way. Today, we talk about the heavy things we carry in our hearts, the choices we make for our families, and the ultimate truth about how we spend our energy. The fifth thing I stopped caring about was old grudges. I carried resentment for decades, hurts from the 1960s that I replayed as if they had just happened. I was waiting for confrontations that would never occur. In hospice, I saw families desperate to repair 40 years of distance in a single visit. Sometimes it worked, often it didn't. I stopped waiting. I forgave everyone because I didn't want to be the one still bleeding. The sixth thing was my adult children's approval. I loved them fiercely, but I realized I was still shaping my life around their judgment. When my husband died, they wanted me to move into assisted living. Their fear was not my compass. I listened, but I chose for myself. You do not stop being a full person because your children are grown. Love them, hear them, but remember that your life is still yours. Your journey doesn't end when theirs begins. The seventh thing was being productive. We are taught that our worth is tied to usefulness. When I retired, I struggled. I didn't know who I was without work, but existence alone is enough. You are not a machine. Rest doesn't need to be earned. A good life has pauses and stillness. You are worthy of love even when you are producing nothing. Learn to sit with yourself and find peace in the quiet moments. I am 92 years old. I have watched more than 2,000 people die, and the pattern is always the same. At the end, they didn't care about their weight, their arguments, or their productivity. They wanted peace. They wanted connection. Somewhere in your life right now, there is something that does not deserve your energy. Sit with that thought. The greatest regret is spending a life caring about what never truly mattered. Take a breath. Let go of the heavy things. Live honestly, live kindly, and spend your precious energy on what truly matters. Thank you for staying with me until the very end.